Well, joining me now is a stalwart of the private rented sector and also the Landlord Investment Show itself. I'm delighted to be joined by Paul Shamplina of Landlord Action.
Good morning.
And morning to you, Paul. And again, back at Olympia, and so much going on in the private rented sector. Obviously, we're just recovering from the budget as well.
Yeah.
Great time to have the closing show of the season.
Yeah, it is. And we know that there's still loads more consultations going through.
Yeah.
They are very challenging times for landlords, but also now, obviously, more so for letting agents as well. But demand is still strong, and if you're a landlord and you think you can make money, you really have to look at this as a business. I know I'm saying the basics, but actually this is a 15 to 20 year business plan, and that's where a lot of landlords go wrong. We see a lot of changes now. Landlord Action is now part of Hamilton Fraser, and obviously Hamilton Fraser own My Deposits, a property redress scheme. Client money protection is now going to be mandatory for letting agents, which is a really good thing for landlords and for tenants. And I know you've been a big campaigner over the years for Safe Agent. But yeah, there's lots going on, and actually that's why I held back. I've literally just finished, when was it, about 2 weeks ago with Kate Faulkner. I just wrote a book called The Landlord's Friend. And I've had to, every time I write something, there's another change. So I waited, and literally it's taken 11 months to write the book. So we're going to hopefully get it out in December for 2019. But it is been ever changing, and it's because the government want to be able to control the private rental sector. You know, it's 20% of the marketplace, and I think property and the private rental sector is becoming more like the FCA and insurance. It needs to be more professionalised, and that's where the government will be going with all of this.
Indeed, and that's why a show, an event like this is so good for landlords, because it definitely can be part of the mix in helping them raise their game.
Well, definitely. I mean, Tracy and Steve have done a great job with this show. I mean, really, the Olympia Show, we always exhibit, especially at the Olympia Show, and I've been exhibiting these shows for years. You've got a room full, you've got how many, 60, 70 exhibitors here, and you've got a lot of experts and loads of years of experience in different aspects of the private rental sector. And actually, for a landlord coming along to a show like this, half a day, or a day, whatever, it makes total sense, because actually it's free, So, gathering that information. This is the biggest problem with landlords that are landlording, is they don't spend time in the education and the updated changes, the 5 biggest worries for a landlord is obviously not getting paid the rent. Obviously, I know for Landlord Action, void periods, maintenance charges. You've obviously also got the taxes in Section 24, which has been a massive problem with the industry, and we're seeing a lot of landlords that have exited the marketplace. But it opens up opportunities for other landlords, and I think with Brexit and how I think the market's going to harden. I think that's going to offer opportunity. And of course, is the government's idea, are they in favour of small landlords? It appears most probably not. And actually, landlords are really, really fearful of legislation and changes, and that's a real big worry. So a lot of them, for landlords that want a landlord, you have to get a letting agent to fully manage. And I say that all the time, and I say that also in the programme,
Absolutely. I think there is a lot of landlord stress about. There's some stress balls here on the Landlord Action stand. And I think, no problem is insurmountable. And if you have an issue, one of the ways that you can resolve it is come to an event such as this.
Or go in your forums.
Or go on forums like Property Tribes and Landlord Zone. And get your questions answered, because landlords don't have to work in isolation anymore.
No. And that's been a big problem. Engage with people that have gone through that experience. Landlords make mistakes all the time. I've made many mistakes, and over the course of time of renting a property, and I'm actually a service provider. People will make mistakes. People will be rash in with regard to their decision making, and if you can learn from someone, then it's a complete no-brainer.
So your book's coming out.
And we've launched HF Academy for Hamilton Fraser, which is letting agent training. We've partnered with Susie from the Letting Training Centre, so we put an event on for letting agents. We sold out in about a week, and we've got a second event on the 13th of December. And good news, we've got commissioned a 5th series for Channel 5. So the working title is called Rental Wars. It may change. It was called Bad Tenants, Rogue Landlords, and previous to that, Nightmare Tenants, Slum Landlords. So it's been a big hit, and so I started filming about 3 weeks ago. I did a squat last week, disused pub in Maida Vale, and the squatters tied it up. You could have eaten your breakfast off the floor, believe it or not, which was a rarity. They were very pleasant. But so I started filming, and psychologically I've got to get my head around it because I travel up and down the country, and I call the film crew up and say, right, I'll meet you in Suffolk at 6 in the morning. So I'm leaving home by 4 in the morning. But so I still enjoy it. I still got the enthusiasm, and I still want to help landlords.
Well, you've always been somebody that advocates raising standards in the private rented sector, landlord education, and you've always been very, very supportive of that, and also the show
and you guys
here today.
As well. Keep up the good work, Vanessa.
Well, thank you. Just as we close out, last show of the season here at Olympia, obviously we're all winding down for Christmas. Are you feeling optimistic that landlords can survive into 2019 and beyond if they get the right advice and support?
Well, most definitely. You've still got 9.5 million tenants out there. You've got still some amazing mortgage deals that you can do, lending. Obviously, you need that deposit, and you need to have those finances to be able to buy. I think that I think the uncertainty in the housing market will benefit landlords to be able to buy cheaper stock. I think that's going to happen. I know that the build-to-rent operators are really, really investing heavily into build-to-rent. I think landlords have just got to raise their game. They've got a lot of competition, and they've got to be quite creative, and they've got to be quite strategic. In actually, I think the one bit of advice I'd give to a landlord now is see your tenant as a consumer, as a customer. The tenant pays the rent. Without a tenant, you don't have a landlord. Without a landlord, you don't have a letting agent. And I think the days of the days have gone where landlords will see tenants in a certain light. When you're renting a property out, you want that tenant to rent the property out and see it as their home. And if they see it as their home, the more they feel homely, unless there's circumstances in their working life or their personal life, they'll stay in your property as long as possible. And a happy tenant is a happy landlord.
Well, I go as far as to call my tenants my clients.
Exactly, and that's how you need to raise it.
Indeed.
Because you don't want a void period, and you don't want refurbishment fees. So most definitely, you need to make sure that you see them as clients, definitely.
Well, as you said, Paul, it's all about raising standards to survive, and this event is all part of
Most
that
definitely.
process.
Yes, of
so
course.
thank you very much for all that you do and for your support here today
Thank
at
you.
the Landlord Investment Show
Thank
at
you.
Olympia.
See you next time. Thank you.